welcome to the Martial Arts Business Success Podcast. We're at episode 120. Now we're at a four-part series. We're at episode 3 in this series. So Phil, take it away, mate. What's the topic of choice today?
Well, the four-part series is all about assistant instructors. So please make sure if you are jumping on now and you haven't heard the other two, go back because it all makes sense. We're talking about before class, how your assistants should be acting, behaving and communicating with the students coming in and the parents and the adults. During class, we touched on some points during the class, and we're going to kick off right now as well about some other points that your assistant instructors should be focusing on during class. And if there was sort of like an overall theme for this particular episode, I would say awareness.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than having an assistant instructor with tunnel vision or off with the fairies or just aren't at one with what's going on in the class. So your assistant instructor have to be aware of many, many things. I mean, like, you know, as an instructor, you're focusing on the students, on the parents, or people watching, and the assistants. You know, you've got your focus spread and your awareness is heightened because you've got to make sure you're managing and spinning multiple plates. Yeah. Well, the assistant has to be doing the same. Not to the level of a full-time instructor, but they still need to be fully aware of what's going on around them so that they can help the instructor feel like the class is so seamless. And from our side of the point of view, go, well, it's like the assistant just knew what that person was about to say.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things, Graham, that an assistant instructor needs to be aware of?
Man, look, it's endless. And before we sort of get to that, Phil, we touched on this in our instructor program recently. And it's quite a technical name, but in summary, it's broken down to be quite easy. It's called the Conscious Competence Ladder. And it talks about 4 different levels, and there's a secret 5th, but the 4 different levels of unconscious incompetence, not knowing what they don't know.
Yep.
So again, it's as an assistant, sometimes they don't know where they need to stand. They don't they don't know what they need to do. Then you've got conscious incompetence. In other words, they now know that they're not doing that stuff. You know, you're kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. And you got conscious competence, which is basically, okay, I'm now aware of what I need to do and I'm doing that sort of stuff, but I'm still thinking about it. And the final one to this is unconscious competence, which is they're doing things on the fly. It's just happening naturally. Now that's a high level assistant, but awareness, man, it's a huge one, like for belts, for example.
Yeah.
And this is why I sort of went a little deeper into that sort of conscious competence ladder, although it can be quite confusing. We see things happen and unconsciously can move over and tie this and keep the drills and skills flowing. A high-level assistant can do that without even being told. Often you'll find a new assistant will just see it fall and almost walk past it, you know. They just don't get it. Or even worse than that is it's just about to fall off. It's undone properly, you know. So there's all this sort of stuff is about awareness. You can be reactive and they put the belt on when it falls off, or proactive, seeing it's tied incorrectly and it's going to be a matter of time and straight away they just tie it correctly, which is going to keep it on. It's like, you know, things that we sometimes see as quite simple, it's not so simple, mate.
Yeah. And that's why, you know, I know in our leadership program, there's a whole section about tying belts as an assistant. So being able to tie a belt in front of someone rather than having to be behind them, which is probably not a really good look anyway. Standing behind someone tying their belt. So being able to do that and, you know, have fun and games around having races about who can tie the most belts in the right time. Is it level? Is it tied right? All that type of stuff. So you can make fun out of your learning. But it's important that when you know, you think about it, how much time and effort does someone put into training for the Olympics? They put in hours and hours and hours for that seconds. Now we're talking about putting your time and effort into training so that when you're on that 45-minute slot class or whatever it may be, it's game time and you know what to do and you're ready to roll.
Now, talking about awareness, it's important that your guys are able to look up and look around. And what I mean by that is taking the scan. I know at a high level, you know, assistant instructor, class 2IC or lead instructor, they've got a head in a swivel, or sometimes they're even called the lighthouse. You know, they're forever scanning and assessing where it's at. And that isn't just for the little nitty-gritties that happen, like belts falling off or whatever else. It's about major things. So it's important that the same assistants that are in class have the same scan, but they're obviously looking for different things. So we talked about belts. We're also talking about awareness. If the instructor is talking about a drill that's coming up that requires some sort of equipment, what are they going to do? They're going to be wait to be told, again, reactive, or proactive, which is moving over, beside that equipment and pretty much having it ready to rock and roll. So that is like, zero downtime. It makes it efficient, but they are actually conscious of what's going on in class. Actually being present is a big factor.
On that is like, so just imagine you've got one of those large classes, right? And then if you had all the kids go get a kick shield or a focus mitt or hand pad or whatever, it would be chaotic. It would be crazy right there. So an awareness of your assistant instructors to realise, hey, we're talking about this particular drill. They know we're going to need focus mitts, for example, and rather than having them all flood to one area and be a bit chaotic, they lay them out spacingly so that the student can go and get it without a fight over a piece of equipment, without, not that anyone fights over it, but trips over or bumps into someone, or without them being silly, because that's not what we're trying to achieve. So it's about being aware of that scenario and that situation, being able to pre-see the curve, as Graham was saying, and set the instructor up for success.
Look, this also... I just thought I'd add it in here because I know for the viewers watching this or the guys listening in on this, you got to make sure that you clearly outline what's expected. And I keep going back to this, what's expected, because if you're asking something or you have criticism on your assistants and they're not on point, they may not know that you want them to be at this level or raise that level. And I guess what I'm trying to explain here is the fact that we've got some junior assistant instructors. They may be 10, 11 or 12. Now their role is just to be aware if the belt falls off, they're running in like a ball boy at the tennis match and snap it up. Whereas I may have some 15, 16-year-old assistant instructors who are all prepped for that equipment list that you talked about. They're listening for those cues and they've got the equipment set up. A 10-year-old may be able to do that, but they may not necessarily have that same reactionary speed because they're newer to that role. So it's important to make sure you set them up, and how our instructors do that is a pre-mat chat. Even if it's just 30 seconds before class. Phil, we've got you, we've got two others. Phil, your role today is this, this and this. Someone else's role is A, B, C, and then away you go. And it's really quite simple, but it's often overlooked and it's not done, which is why they have some challenges in getting the assistants to perform on point.
Yep. We just to put some context in that as well. For example, sometimes we might not get that 30 seconds or a minute when you got back-to-back classes. But what they should do it at a bare minimum level, we have the concept that we came up with was GI by 3. And it's a power meeting. It's literally, classes start at 3:30 after school. It's a power meeting. It's literally a minute long. GI by 3 means they have to put their GI on by 3 o'clock, which means they're ready. Class is all set up, ready to be done. They're neatly presented, hair brushed, cologne on and all that type of stuff, perfume if you're a female, and you're having that quick brief meeting. Go, cool, Graham, so you've got GPG, you're doing this, this and this. So are you going to be on floor number 2, number 1? Where are you going to be today? Cool, excellent. If you have any questions, let us know. It's that powwow chat to your team that really sets the shape, the scene and the shape and the outlay for the rest of the day.
For sure. But there's lots of different strategies you can do to help make sure that you are getting on point. As we said, we've got a start of a day one. We've also got the ability to have instructors take lead on a class while the other assistant instructor or the 2OC to the class is giving that debrief and that power up sort of meeting as well too. Again, it doesn't take long to set out expectations, but it's really what we're getting back at here is communicating where you want them to go, what you want them to do, and the outcome that we're looking for. So they're not sitting back just wandering the class aimlessly and being more of a hindrance than a help.
I know we spoke about it in one of the other podcasts. We recently ran an instructor workshop and we had guests fly in from interstate to come, and they said, oh wow, it's just that you guys are just so seamless when they all have a place to play, a part to play and a place to be. So going on that, the awareness of a class, so for example, where should the assistant instructor sit or stand? How should they do that? So let me just throw some scenarios at you, and you can answer them because I know you know the answers to these. But let's just say the instructor is going to have a mat chat to the whole class before they go out to a drill. Now let's just say you've got the instructor is standing up and all the students are sitting down cross-legged. Where should the assistants be and what should they be doing?
Generally, they're going to find themselves in like a half circle, like an arc around the back of the group. So the instructor will be in the center. They'll have the audience directly in front of them so they're not spilling off to the sides. Again, that's something the assistants would do. If there's kids do this a lot, even adults, they start going past the 180 degree mark, your peripheral, they start kind of moving around towards the back of you. So the assistants will tap on the shoulder and get them to move so they're more on the line of sight of the main instructor. And the rest of the assistants, depending on how many you got, whether they stand still or if you're limited numbers will, I guess, cruise behind the group as they sit down. And the reason for that is it allows them to turn the heads of a student who may not be focused. If they're doing something annoying somebody else, they can kind of tap on the shoulder and remind them. But generally what they will do is they'll be behind the group. Now, depending on the age of the kids, sometimes, and what I'm saying, the age of the kids that the instructor's talking to, let's say, Phil, you're the lead instructor, talking to a 5-year-old group, you've got a lot of big guys who are helping you out, they're teenagers, they may kneel down, one knee on the ground, behind the group as you discuss and talk. So that way they're not, a towering wall behind the kids. It allows parents to see it, but generally it's just being able to adapt. Now, this is stuff that these guys know and they do similarly. Little kids, they'll drop to one knee. Teenagers, because they're a bit taller, they may actually still stand up and move around behind that group as well too. But generally, rule of thumb, they'll make a half circle behind the group. So they're able to correct or make sure if anyone's distracted, they can get them focused again.
And it's really impressive when you, an outsider looking in, and you've got, let's say, the kids, the groups sitting on their bum. If I was the lead instructor, because they were small kids, I would probably kneel down on one knee, and I would have my instructors at the back kneel down on one knee, arced out in that half circle, so they're raised above the group. Now, if I had the class group kneel up, then I would probably stand up, and I would have the instructors stand up. And if the class group stood up, well, then we'd all be standing up. It's all about having the different levels and making sure that not just the student, but the parents and people who can watch can see what's going on, and also have those assistant instructors, like we said, keep the attention span of the students by physically turning some heads or touching them on the shoulder, say, focus on the instructor. We should not have to be able to be that person who has to go, Graham, look at me, George, look at me, all this type of thing. But in saying that, it's our job as a lead instructor to understand that there might be a person or a student who is starting to get a little bit out of hand, and the assistant instructor can't step in. Then it's time to go, oi, sort that out.
We've got a few of those that we deal with, but I guess what you're saying here, man, it looks really quite smooth when you've got these guys who are dropping down on one knee, they're coming up, they're standing up, whatever it may be. They are really on point when they're doing their skills, and it looks great.
So, mate, is there anything else left on the during the class? I mean, where does it end? Where does the list end? There's so many things you can do. We're just trying to give you a big picture view. If I go over the things we spoke about in episode number 2 in this 4-part series, was during classes, be a good finder, be a power mover. Going into this particular one is have awareness, know what's going on in class, during class, where are the belts at, how to tie them up, the equipment, where to sit, where to stand, all that type of stuff. I mean, there's heaps of things we can teach them.
Look, guys, we just want to give you quick wins that you can do, or give yourself a pat on the back that you're already doing them. So that's really where it's at, because this stuff may seem trivial, but it's the 1%ers like this that'll make you stand out from the rest if you apply it and create that culture that it's self-perpetuating. I mean, you get it started with this kneeling down behind the class, being a good finder, all those other great things, and in the end, you're going to have raving fan clients, therefore you have tons of referrals coming through the door, and this is how you maximize, really what we're talking about, maximize your assistant instructor. Not just have an extra body on the floor, make sure they're actually contributing and being that gem that I know they can be.
100%. And guys, girls, martial arts business owners out there, if you would like to swipe and deploy or have a look at our assistant instructor assessment sheet, so how I and Graham or our lead instructors would assess our assistant instructors, we give them to you for free. You just head to our website, tima.com.au, and you'll be able to find there's a free course there called, what's it called again?
The boot camp.
The boot camp. It's a martial arts boot camp. So got a lot of things going on in my head. It must be my new mug. So the free martial arts boot camp, and in there are your assistant instructor and instructor check sheets and assessment sheets. So you can literally download them and just start assessing it where they're at.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Look, we've got the last edition coming up. What you do when the class is coming to that close, you finish a class, what's the aftercare that they do? How do they inspire and motivate and have that impact that is off the floor now that we've come to that close on there? So don't miss it out. This is really exciting, really fun, and it's also going to make you stand out from the crowd, which is really where we're at.
Cool, guys. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode.